The last 2 years were challenging for all of us thanks to the COVID 19 pandemic. But as they say, every dark cloud has a silver lining. And perhaps the one thing that has stood out during the last 2 years has been the unprecedented participation by millennials and Gen Z in the Indian stock market. Today on the ET Money Show, we have Zerodha's Nikhil Kamath and the man and the organization which is leading this millennial rush to the Dalal Street. And what does success mean to him and what is his understanding of millennials and their investment mantra? Let's dive straight into this conversation and find out from Nikhil himself. Nikhil, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining in. I believe you're on a vacation and you are in Rishikesh. So the question that I want to ask you is, you interact with a lot of millennials, okay, and they look up to you. They look up to you as a role model. Now, what happens if we talk about upbringing? A lot has evolved over a period of years. You know, the mindset and the attitude towards life has changed in general, and especially talking about pandemic, that has added a lot of depth to it. What's been your understanding of millennials? In the sense of life, how do they look at it, and what has been your newfound about on life?
Well, I would say a lot of millennials, I think millennials right now are a little bit older, but if you kind of like focus on the Gen Z, many times they're looking for a recipe, a certain set of instructions or a bunch of things that someone could do to, achieve the monetary goal that they might have seen in the media, other people proclaim that they have achieved. I think millennials and the younger generation of today have to understand that success is a factor of many things. Very often, it does not come down to what the business is or who the person is in isolation, but market conditions for what is being built at what point of time. Uh, People in my age, I'm 36 today, people of my generation, we got really lucky because the last 15 years in India have largely been a big bull run where asset classes across the board have performed well. India has grown tremendously in this period. So to try and replicate that in the next generation might not necessarily be the best thing to do. I think people have to kind of like be cognizant to what is happening in the ecosystem and not focus so much on regurgitating somebody else's recipe because the journey and the path might be a different thing for everyone. And more so than anything else, people should not compare what person A has done to what they're trying to achieve because circumstances, conditions, all of those are drastically different for both the parties.
Right, you mentioned about success. So, Nikhil, what is success for you?
Well, success for me today is freedom. I think I consider the people who I work with my friends. These are people I like hanging out with in my personal time when I'm not working with them. So to pick and choose who you work with is a big privilege. And to also be able to choose what projects you take on, have the confidence that you will be okay if one or two things do not work out and you can attempt them with a certain degree of confidence. These things are success for me as they stand today.
Right. So, you a lot of times you talk about various aspects about your life that you would want to change or you would have changed. I mean, you're trying to live up to it now. So, what are these aspects that you regret, which you are rectifying, only if you're comfortable talking about it?
No, no, everything from my health. I wish I was healthier. I ate better. I worked out more. I slept more. I wish I paid more attention to my family, be it my parents. Uh, Time with the elderly, especially people who are unwell. I don't think you can get that time back. What you could have done 10 years ago, you can't do today, and things like that. There are many things I regret not having done in the manner that I could have, but I think these would sit on top.
Let's talk about Gen Zs, India and abroad. What is their attitude towards life, zest, the recklessness that you must have felt, and you must have thought about it that, oh, I should have had this at this age. Is there anything of that sort?
This very interesting philosophy. In isolation, we do not know what we want. There's this French philosopher called René Girard who talks about something called mimetic theory. We mimic what we think we want based on our surroundings. So your peer group, your friends, your childhood, all of these factors determine what you think you want in life. So very few people truly realize, I mean, me included, what we actually want. With all the noise in the world today, with social media bombarding us from every corner, with all kind of weird gurus and influencers telling us about exaggerated versions of their own story and success stories, and this is sold to us by media, social media, all the time, on every platform. uh, I wish that people, including myself, spend more time trying to figure out who we are as people, figuring out our flaws and the good things about us. All of us are flawed. I think it's very important to recognize how you are flawed or how you are different from others and what the good things about you are, and then uh, try and live a life where you're cognizant to both, and you probably have a little bit more of a realization of who you are as a person and what you want.
Right. So, in a nutshell, a lot of experience is needed. So, the way you have reached the place where you are in your life, the way you're thinking, analyzing, rectifying, do you think experiences are really important to reach the stage where you are now?
I mean, of course it helps. See, my experiences seem stark to me because I'm looking at them from my lens, and by virtue of, like I was saying earlier, being in the right cycle with the right company at the right time. uh, Everybody's experiences are relevant. You could be a 25-year-old boy living in a tier 2 town in India. You've had your own experiences. I think the question is, do you make the effort to focus on what these experiences were, why they occurred, and what you can learn from them? So we're all experienced in our own way. Uh, People in the media space, my experiences might sound exaggerated by virtue of people embellishing as they reiterate it. When one person says something, and then the second and the third and the fifth person says it, by the fifth person's version of your story, it sounds totally different from the first person account of it. So we all have experiences, and I think uh, time. I don't think necessarily a 70-year-old man is wiser by virtue of his experiences compared to a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old man. I think it depends on how you choose to reflect upon your experiences and what you learn and take away from those.
Talking about young India, you think that they are more matured now as compared to what young India was 10 years back?
Definitely. I think evolution, the pace of evolution is definitely a lot more exaggerated today. If I were to look at how I was at 25 or 20 or 15, the 15-year-old kids of today are significantly more evolved. They're more intelligent, they're smarter. I often feel if I have to take advice about business or life, I would much rather do it from a 15, 20-year-old person now than I would do it from somebody who's 10 years my senior. So the Gen Z is definitely evolved, probably smarter than every generation that preceded them. and that trend will continue. So it's really important for anybody in business to realize that often and ever so often in different cycles, you will find younger people who are smarter, sharper, hungrier than you are. And you have to kind of pass the baton along, and you have to uh, get more able people who are able to do your job better than yourself, and uh, give them the responsibility and the onus, and like really trust in them to do better than you could.
Nikhil, what according to you, or what is your understanding of Gen Z's understanding of money and investments?
I wish there was a lot more that was being done in terms of our system of pedagogy and how we educate our young about anything finance. Uh, we spend 15 years teaching somebody how to get a job, but we don't spend any time really in teaching them how to manage the money they might earn from doing that job. So a lot more attention has to be paid there. And to be really fair, I think in India we are lucky. We've had great regulation. We've had bodies like SEBI, RBI, the government who have come down and curtailed a lot of the nonsense which has gone on across the world. Like I've just been reading and watching the news about FTX and their token, and how it could just have wiped out billions of dollars of retail wealth overnight. At least we had the gumption, and we kind of like preempted this as a country, our regulators and the government. And they made it significantly harder for retail and the millennials and Gen Zs to access such risky asset classes here. But uh, uh, I think people have to make the effort to go outside formal education, get practical experience, learn. There is so much content available out there, good quality content in books available online for free. So people really should make the effort to learn more about finance, because the journey to wealth is as much about managing investing money as it is about making the money. So everybody should get better informed and take the initiative to learn about this.
Right. Let's take you on a separate topic now. How do you look at the current layoffs that's going on in different sectors? Who is to be blamed? Do you see this going deeper? Because it's not only the financial impact that we are talking about, that would hit an individual. It's mental and psychological. And people who are being laid off are also mostly the new ones who are entering the workforce. So, Nikhil, how do you look at it?
I feel like it's a part of the cycle at large. We saw extreme optimism and hubris almost in the tech sector in the last few years. Uh, People were raising tremendous amounts of money before they were profitable. There were companies being formed with a large funding pie even before they knew what the product was. So I think it's a course correction. To watch anybody lose a job is sad. I mean, it's hard to empathize, but I see it around me. A lot of people I know have lost their job. I see the situation to be a lot starker in, say, America, for example, or the Western economies, where these companies are firing at a faster pace than we might be here in India. This trend, I think, will continue. Uh, the inflation being as high as it is right now, interest rates at some point will have to go significantly above inflation to bring it under control. I'm not suggesting, what happened, say, when Volcker was at the Federal Reserve, they went up to 18% or 17%. I don't think they will go up. I hope they will not go up to that level this time. But even at the current inflated levels, let's say mortgage rates in America now are 7%. Uh, Interest rates, the risk-free rate is over 4.5%. Uh, this, I think, will have a significant impact on the amount of money coming into India. Venture capital and PE funds were able to borrow at significantly lower rates and bring money into India over the last decade. when that rate of capital goes up for them, their risk-taking ability will proportionately go down as well. So I think this problem of job losses, companies having to get leaner, will continue for a prolonged amount of time. I blame it kind of on the circumstances of the last decade where excessive amounts of money and valuations were attributed to companies across the board. Uh, to a job applicant or somebody entering the workforce today, I think the only thing one could do is, spend more time and effort on skilling. We could be moving towards a gig economy. We could be moving towards an economy where skill set is given more importance than traditional qualification and certification overall. So I think the time is apt for people to find skills, equip themselves, get training outside of formal education, get experience on different projects which necessarily are not formal employment, and be more competitive in the job ecosystem.
All right, last question to you, Nikhil. Do you believe in giving back to the society? How do you do it?
Yeah, so there are many different ventures that I'm part of. I happen to be lucky to be in an ecosystem where people, uh, in many ways, I wouldn't say ridicule, but they criticize overconsumption. Like most of us in the world today are consuming more than we need. Probably flawed in saying most of us, but a lot of us. So there are different projects that I'm a part of. We have something at Rain Matter and Zerodha where we do a lot on climate. I have a charity called YIPP, which does stuff in education and malnutrition. But I'm part of this foundation called Giving Pie. There are plenty of these. I see myself progressively with time spending more time. I would not say altruistic because these to me are also not truly altruistic. I feel they're a very subconscious way of me massaging my own morality and probably feeling slightly superior on a relative basis in terms of morality by virtue of doing all of this. So even this is not altruistic, but I see myself consistently spending more time on this. If I would spend 5% of my time on pursuits like this 3 years ago, right now it's closer to 15%. And in the next 3 years, it's probably going to be 25-30% of my time.
All right, that was a lot of topics that we covered in this interaction. Well, thank you so much, Nikhil, for removing time and sharing your views on the varied topics that we just discussed.